Hello again. Okay, this will be the second tutorial, and I've just left the same scene available so that you can see the extended features and settings in the plugin itself. Now, the first one we're going to look at is the solver. So last time I used the solver, I set it to outside. And outside, inside, intersection are pretty similar. Intersection acts more like both inside and outside depending on where the object happens to be located in the intersection um, of the collision. So I'll show you what that means. So I set that to intersection, and I'm going to just push it right through the plane. And you see what happens there is it sort of jumps from pushing in to pushing out because it's looking at which polygons or faces on the object are actually in what direction relative to the deformer object. So if you always want it to push in from the facing side, then you want to go to outside. So it treats the plane faces as the outside of the surface, and it'll just push in for the most part, keep going, and it'll keep going. And you can do just the opposite with the inside, which basically makes the backside of the, or inside of the object, push outward. You can go here and I'll show you that. And you see it immediately, it treats it like it's on the other side, and it pushes outward instead of inward. Now the other option you have, and I'll show you this in a sec, is backface culling. So this sort of sets the how it treats the intersection of the faces on both objects is either being on one side or the other again. So you can actually click this, and it should be the same for this. There's no difference here, but it'll just change the way that your other two options work in the solver. So now your inside actually acts out like the outside and so forth. And it just gives you an extra option depending on the configuration of the objects you're colliding. Okay, the next thing that we want to look at is bucket size. So bucket size is a more technical aspect considering the way the collider is subdivided for faster collision. And this just says how many triangles are we going to put into the smallest boxes when we subdivide this object to make the whole process easier. Most of the time you won't have to change this. If you have very dense polygon objects, you might want to increase this bit, maybe up to 32 or 64, and it doesn't have to be a power of 2. So after the technical one you probably won't touch much is the strength multiplier, and this just says how strong is the collision deforming the deformed object. So right now we have it at 1. Let's set this to nominal here, and we'll push in at normal strength. Now we can set that strength either lower, you can see it almost does nothing, it starts working the opposite direction when it's negative, or you can take it and you can increase the effect, and you can see what it's doing, really pushing the polygon surface of this object far away from the collision. And you can give it a heavier impact on the colliding deformation. Now after this one, there's one more general setting, and that's the offset. Offset isn't the same as the multiplier. It doesn't increase the deformation effect. What it does is increase the outside surface, or decrease it, that is hitting the deformation object. So if we come up here and we increase the offset to a large number, let's say like 20, and then we do our collision, you'll notice that it actually started deforming the surface of the plane before the object actually arrived there. That's because it sort of has a field or extra area on the outside of it that is actually getting to the object before the actual object of the collider. And you can go the opposite direction and have it work by being even smaller. Take that to -10, and it won't impact immediately. It'll actually go through the object and then start impacting it late. So think of this as sort of a impact scaler on when it's actually going to hit the object. Okay, so for right now, I'm going to leave it there. So this is, I figure I would do one section at a time in each video so that you get a clear idea of how each section works and how each setting works. So I'll see you next time, and we'll look at the bulges section and show you how those work and how you can set those. Thank you again.